The Destiny 2 killer, or so it was marketed for Anthem. If you remember when this game was announced, it was so exciting. The prospect of flying around in an exosuit like Iron Man while gunning down monsters and enemies with your friends, drop in, drop out co-op like The Division 2, BioWare's answer to Destiny. This was the game. And on February 22nd, 2019, it dropped. And what do you know? I don't know if you've been paying attention, but not many people talk about Anthem anymore. And when they do, they talk about how disappointing it was. Because while Anthem is live and you can still go play it, there isn't much to do. The world looks beautiful, as it always has. The flight mechanics are one of the few great things about this game. They got flight correct. They got the audio design correct when it comes to your exosuit. All the little noises from your thrusters when you run.
Wouldn't call this living. Inspecting sensors every month. Yeah, it's not exactly the freelancer motto. Yeah, so the freelancers are back on their feet. We can enjoy all
the impact, the weight behind landing in your suit. It's done perfectly. Co-op gameplay, personally, that's a big deal for me. The facial capture of the NPCs is done beautifully. The diversity in the classes of exosuits. There are actual differences. It isn't like, oh, there's one ability that's different, or it's shaped different, but you can all use the exact same weapons. No, there are stark differences, which is good. It's how it should be. But there's a reason Anthem isn't talked about anymore. There's a reason Anthem, quote unquote, died. There's a reason there's no follow-up, there's no DLC, there's no longer a team working on it. They overpromised and massively underdelivered. The initial trailer showed this vast, massive scale of a world that you could dive into with your friends, dynamic events, these shaper storms that would hit and change the entire world around you. And then the game dropped, and the hub world, the city where you come back from your missions, was empty. Hardly any NPCs, and the ones that were there, you could only talk to a fraction of them. All of the cosmetic armor was acquired through microtransactions. You couldn't find any cosmetics out in a mission or out in the wild. They had to be bought. The writing was subpar. You might not come to these games for the writing. Rarely does anyone expect a good writing out of these, but it was exceptionally bad. The missions are repetitive. Go here, guard this point, defend it against enemies, clear it, move on to the next point. Go capture these glowing orbs. Take them over here, unlock the door, fly through, then guard another point. At the end of this mission, there's a big boss. Rinse and repeat. This is a looter shooter. Loot should be plentiful and diverse. One thing Destiny 2 does really well is a lot of the weapons, especially the legendaries and the exotics, are very different. That wasn't the case for Anthem. Yeah, they had different names. They had slightly different shapes. Not a whole lot of wow factor when it came to these weapon drops. The drop rates were atrocious. Like, if it's a looter shooter, you want constant loot and you want constant exciting loot. So the fact that the loot wasn't very diverse and it didn't drop often, it was a 1-2 combo of death for this game. Given the fact that the drop rates were poor, and when it came to the weapons, they were set, hey, this is the meta, these are the weapons you should be using, it defaulted to players running the exact same event over and over. The point of these looter shooters is to have lots of events, lots of constant changes, convincing players to go play through the same missions. Not a singular mission. That's what it resulted in. Everyone playing the exact same mission. Once you beat the game, it was, okay, we're now running this dungeon every single time. We're re-rolling it. That's all we're doing because it's the only one that gives any sort of decent drops. It's the quickest one to do. This game had such a foundation for greatness. It came out as, hey, fly around in a big mech suit and shoot monsters with your friends. That elevator pitch sounds amazing. And they dropped the ball so hard. Not only because the launch was rough, and it was damn near impossible to get into the servers. I remember waiting 20, 25 minutes to get a spot in, both in the beta and in the actual game. After its failure, they tried to do a relaunch, kind of a No Man's Sky, or I guess maybe a Cyberpunk. although Cyberpunk wasn't as public, but think more about No Man's Sky. Overpromised, underdelivered, okay, we're going to do better. And then people left. So there were a total of 30 people working on this, and they said, okay, we're going to relaunch. We're going to work on Anthem, relaunch it in the future as kind of a 2.0 update where we deliver on everything that we promised you. And only 30 people are working on it. Now, that might have flown if it was a single-player narrative game. Hey, we're going to do a relaunch. Cool. Like Cyberpunk. This was a live service game, so you need people working on it constantly anyway. So now you have your staff split between making these live service updates and trying to rebuild the game that you should have delivered in the first place. God, this one hurt. It really hurt. I've recently jumped back in to Anthem to capture some gameplay. I played it on release. I had it on PS4 and PS5. This one hurt so bad. It was so exciting, the thought of jumping in with your friends and being in these unstoppable mech suits. And it feels so good. That's the thing. You can boot up Anthem right now, and the flying feels just as good. You can dive underwater and see these plants underwater light up. And it gives you a tiny glimpse into what could have been with Anthem. This could absolutely have been the Destiny killer. And you can see that, and that's what makes it hurt so much more. Games like The Day Before, where from the instant it dropped, it was a flop. There was no chance. There was no redeeming qualities about it. That's easy to forget. It didn't hurt you. It was like, oh, cool, drop in, drop out zombie extraction shooter. Oh, it dropped and there was nothing redeeming about it. Cool. All right, moving on. Someone will do it better. No. Anthem has redeeming qualities, and it makes it so much harder to move past, especially given the fact that you can still hop in and see it all. I recommend it's on EA Play. It's also part of Game Pass, so you don't have to pay for it if you're already paying for those. Go hop in Anthem. I mean, again, it might hurt you to see what could have been. It definitely hurts me, but it's also cool to fly around, shoot some stuff, use your abilities, and see how well they designed the explosions from your abilities, launching a mortar or tracking rockets out of your mech suit, or the way you can combo elemental abilities. So your melee introduces a shock ability, and then you can detonate that with another ability. There is a lot that was done right. There was just too much done wrong. So go check out Anthem. Maybe hop in, see what could have been. Hopefully another company takes that over. I'm not sure. I'm not a game dev or a legal expert, so I don't know what has to happen in order for somebody to take that and roll with it, design something new. Hopefully that happens in the future. Ninja Gaiden 2 Black just came out, so companies are, okay with reviving some of these older IPs. And again, this came out in 2019, so it's not exactly an older IP, but it was a failed IP. So let's give it to someone to do something successful with, because this has so much potential. They just really needed some more oomph. They needed to put more into it. They overpromised way too much. They should have delayed it by another 3 years, and it could have been amazing. So let me know what you think of Anthem. Were you there when it dropped? Did you play the beta? I played the beta every second. I played every single day. I was so excited. Let me know what you thought of Anthem. Do you still hop in from time to time? I see people streaming it, so it can still be enjoyable. There's just not a lot there. Everything that was supposed to be there isn't there, or it was brought in such a minor way. The whole game feels half-baked. Like, all right, you got the first half, and the rest just fell off a cliff. And that really sucks. Let me know what you think of Anthem. What other games really disappointed you? Go down and do the YouTube things. Subscribe, comment. Again, tell me down below, what did you think of Anthem? And do you think it's possible that somebody can revive it? Because I really hope so. Stay caffeinated and have a good day.